do you help the people to, so that they get landed on their successful job from their goals?
So the first thing that I do with them is you actually have to set a schedule for your job search because you don't want to burn yourself out by doing it every day for hours on end. It's just so demotivating. So
Resume and cover letter are the most important thing when it comes to apply for any particular job. So,
Mhm.
we people do a lot of mistakes in it. So, could you please highlight some of the mistakes or what the recruiter reviewing that?
As a recruiter, I'm looking at the length. How long is the resume, first of all? Hi, my name is Coralyn Fraser, and I am a career coach as well as a recruiter. I started out in recruitment many, many years ago, but right now, what I do is I help uh, graduates from web development, data science, as well as tech sales courses. I help them find work. I lead them through the entire job process. I'm also a recruiter. I've been with staffing agencies for over 10 years. So I like to incorporate both my recruiter side as well as my career coach side when I'm working with clients. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. I used to work for the government of Nova Scotia as a certified career coach as well. And I helped hundreds of people there go from one career path to the other. I decided to go out on my own, and here I am.
Wow, that's amazing. So many words in your introduction: data science, recruiter, career coach. So, how did you get started in this field?
Yeah, it's sort of by mistake. Years ago, as far as the recruitment side is, I was a temp for many, many years for different staffing agencies. I've always been drawn to what they do. So I made a list of my best companies that I'd want to work for as a staffing agency recruiter. I approached the branch managers and I got an interview, informational interview, I should say. I convinced them to let me have a chance as a recruiter. And so that was many, many years ago with a company, I think they're called Randstad now. It used to be Spirion and something else back in the day. But that's how I started as a recruiter. And I've also worked for call centers as a recruiter as well in between. Um, one day I was in between jobs and a gentleman reached out to me to see if I would be interested in a job search facilitator role. So I took that on and that turned into a 5-year contract as a case manager, certified career coach. And that's when I worked with people who had multiple barriers in terms of going from one career path to the other. So I really, really got into the meat and potatoes of career coaching through that job. And that's kind of how I got started. And this job where I'm at right now, the contract that I have right now, I was headhunted on LinkedIn, which is why I always talk about having a LinkedIn profile. A lady reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in a contract as a career coach. And that's what I'm doing right now for Journey Education. We work with grads from the Concordia University Boot Camp.
Wow, that's amazing. When you explaining me why you come in this field or how you started in this field, your first line was you just make a list of the companies you want to go for. And at that time, I come to know, this was in your destiny, because right now the most of the people are just randomly applying for the company without looking at the job description, without saying what benefits them, where they fit. But you started by making a proper list, which companies you want to target. And I think
Yes.
that's an amazing approach. So I think in the starting only you were having the proper skills of of being a recruiter.
Yes, yes.
So, how do you help the people to, so that they get landed on their successful job from their goals?
So the first thing that I do with them is I meet with them and we come up with a strategy. We talk about what does the job search look like. So we need to look at a schedule. You actually have to set a schedule for your job search because you don't want to burn yourself out by doing it every day for hours on end. It's just so demotivating. So we come up with a schedule. So in our schedule, we focus on the job search, finding online job boards that are geared to whatever your profession is, and also setting up a LinkedIn profile That is another major piece of that. And then also networking is so important when you're doing a job search now, because referrals would get access to a job before somebody who actually applies to the job. So this is where networking through connections on LinkedIn really, really comes in handy. The first thing I tell them to do as far as the networking portion is to reach out to everybody you have connected to on LinkedIn and give them an update on what's going on in your life right now, so that they can keep an eye out for maybe some potential jobs, maybe their friends or the friends of their friends know. So that's the first step. And then I start reaching out to my list of top 10, my wish list. I start tracking down hiring managers and recruiters through the LinkedIn company webpage. Because if you go there, you click on the people tab, it'll show you a list of everybody who works for that company. So you can start targeting people. The job search nowadays has to be so much more targeted as opposed to just applying to any and everything. You need to have a system. You need to be able to save your job postings on a folder in your hard drive so that you never forget what positions you did apply to. You need to be mindful of the fact that it could take 2 weeks before you actually hear back from somebody. So pay attention to the closing date and set up a quick little Excel spreadsheet or use Notion or some other project management tool so that you can track where you're sending your application, what that closing date is, and reach out to them to, let them know you're definitely interested until they actually don't respond or anything like that. But setting up a job search strategy is so, so important. And then on top of that, I'm working on your resume. We have to come up with a good resume, and there's a lot of pointers and tips for that, as well as a cover letter, as well as a pitch, which is like your elevator pitch, like who you are, what you do, why they should hire you. So that's kind of the preliminary steps of approaching your job search.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this thing, because I think you have already covered most of the part that on LinkedIn we can find the people and many other things. Resume and cover letter are the most important thing when it comes to apply for any particular job. So,
Mhm.
we people do a lot of mistakes in it. So could you please highlight some of the mistakes or what the recruiter review in that?
Yes, there's a lot. I had to get my little list out so I can remember. But the main things is, okay, let's talk about, okay, as a recruiter, I'm looking at the length. How long is the resume, first of all?
Okay.
If it's an, entry level position that you're applying to, or something that's not so technical or so professional, then no more than 2 pages. 1 page or 2 page works. If it's more of a professional CV, then of course 3 pages or more is accepted, okay? Because you probably have publications or other things that you want, projects that you want to add on there. The other thing is to make sure you don't have any spelling mistakes. So get another set of eyes to review your resume, because sometimes we just can't see the obvious. And the other thing is, if you use Chat GPT, which I suggest for cover letters and follow-up letters and things like that, always be sure that you tweak it. You must always customize it so that it sounds conversational and not so much like it was just put out by a robot, so to speak, So those are some of the things right there. Now, one of my pet peeves is when somebody takes their job description from a job and puts it in their resume as duties listed. More than likely, there's only 1 or 2 bullet points out of that whole thing that you really need to showcase. So don't feel you need to put everything in there. I like to see about 3 to 4 bullet points per job, less as we go on, but it should be listed in chronological order with the most recent job or your current job first, and then you go down in chronological order like that. And in the bullets, I want you to try to quantify a success or an accomplishment in at least one of those bullets. Like maybe you increase sales by, 75% for that quarter. So that type of thing is really, really, it will make the recruiter want to read more.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? The cover letter. Make sure that it's not like 5, 10 paragraphs. Okay. We only want 1 page, and it should be to the point. where you talk about, you identify the position. Don't forget to identify the position in the cover letter, because they get so many jobs and one company could have multiple positions and they would never know what to match your resume to. And use the cover letter as a template. Create a template so that you don't have to redo it every single time, and just identify the key points, which is the name of the position, some basic information about the company as to why you want to work there, and maybe the middle section could be more talk about your soft skills, some of your technical skills in that midsection. Some people like to put a bullet point in there with 3 points of something that is maybe required in the job, but maybe it's not on my resume. Maybe you just don't have it listed there. So then you could use the cover letter to add those type of details in there like that. One other thing that's really important is that first word in your bullet point should be a powerful action verb in the past tense, unless you, well, different people say different things, but I like it better this way. Unless you're currently working there, then it would be in the present tense. So it would be something like improve processes, with the D on it. Okay, that type of thing. Do not ever put personal information. I know different countries do things in different ways. Here, I'm in Canada, and I assume that the States has the same type of mentality, where we do not suggest that you include a picture. We do not suggest you include any personal information, including your street address, your date of birth, your marital status. None of that is required at all. Okay. And yeah, I think that is pretty much, those are the main things that stand out for me.
And believe me, while you were speaking, I was thinking it's a mini master class on resumes and CV. So well, you have given the information about the resume. Even you covered a little things like photos, bullet points, and I think that's the specialty of you. That's the specialty or unique selling, feature of your course that you just share it. That's amazing. Coralyn, we know that right now after the COVID, how much online presence matters, how much online network matters. So how one individual can work on it to achieve the particular XYZ job positions?
Yes. There's a couple of different ways to approach it. Like the first thing that I can think of is sending in-mails through your LinkedIn profile, sending messages to connections through your LinkedIn profile. Now, most people get stuck on that because number one, they're shy and they don't know what to say. So I like to have a couple of scripts ready, like one-liners, just to have, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. Like one-liner could be about a common thing or idea that we have in common, or an idea that I want to share with you, or maybe we know somebody who's the same person. We have a mutual friend. Then I have a separate one that asks the HR, the recruitment team, if there's any work, because there's a difference. You cannot approach hiring managers who would be, let's say, a senior level web developer. If I was going into an entry level position, that connection request is not going to be the same as if I was looking to talk to a recruiter. The recruiters, you can ask them directly about the jobs, but the hiring managers, you want to approach them as if they were a mentor. I like to look at their profile, especially to see if they've transitioned from a different field into web development, so that my question to them would be, how did you make that transition from a different field, a different industry into web development, as an example. And I guess the last one would be any accomplishments that they've, any accolades or any awards that they won. This is a chance for me to be, to say congratulations. Now, it is so critical that I want to say, keep nurturing those connections. Even after we make our first connection, be aware not everybody will respond. Some people will not, but don't take it personal. It's just, maybe they just don't use LinkedIn like that, right? But the ones that do respond and connect with you, I like to make it a point to, follow them and comment on their posts, or like their posts, or share their posts, or even create posts of my own, like for whatever reason. I do different motivational quotes that I like to kind of do on a weekly basis for my grads in one way or another. Different people do different things. So I would definitely suggest that you always stay active, whether you're posting, sharing a comment, liking a post, or creating a post, because the last thing you want is for somebody to go to your profile and you don't respond because you're never there. So they will see your activity as being very minimal, and that will reduce the chances of them reaching out to you directly. I've had that happen as a recruiter where a lady took a couple of months to get back to me and the position was filled. So this is why, even if you're not doing anything, you still should be active in some way, shape, or form. Always reach out to add about 5 new contacts a week. That's a good little ballpark figure to get your numbers up. And yeah, like just staying connected with people and, checking, always reevaluating your top 10 list, always adding more people to that list, because some people will fall off. Maybe they just don't have anything at that time. But always tracking your connections through Excel or whatever spreadsheet you want to use, so that you'll know maybe they said to call back in 2 months, so you need to be able to remember that, right? So
Yes.
those are some of the reasons why you should always stay active and how to stay active on
Wow.
LinkedIn. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, that's an amazing. So I believe we are having a lot of clients and they must be landing on their dream job. So could you please share any successful story? I know it must be difficult for you to choose a successful story, but anyone.
Yes. I have so many because I take each person that I work with
Yeah, I
like
told
my client,
you.
like so when they win, I win. So it's always a win-win situation. I can tell you one lady, she's from India.
Oh,
She was living in Montreal, and unfortunately she finished the boot camp, and then she had to go back to India because her grandparent or somebody in her family got really, really ill. So we came up with a new strategy because she's in India and I'm here in Halifax. How are we going to make this work? We came up with a strategy where, she did her interviews during regular business hours for Eastern Standard Time. And no matter what time it was in India, she made it work. She came to the interview. She continued to do a job search, an active job search, and she was networking at the same time.
okay.
Next thing I know, she calls me and she sends me a message and tells me that she got a job while she's in India. Like, I was so proud of her, because it's hard when you're dealing with personal issues like family sicknesses and things like that. COVID has, really thrown a wrench in a lot of people's health. So I like to be flexible with people when they have things going on. And I think more employers should do that, actually, just because when you're good to your people, they're good to you. This lady put out 110%, even though she had a lot of restrictions. She's happy. She's back at her home now in Montreal, but unfortunately her family member passed. But at least I was able to be there as some type of support while she was going through that.
And
Yeah.
while sharing this story, you taught us one lesson to be with someone. And like you told her, you were a little bit flexible with her because of some, family problems or sickness. And, it shows that relationship goes from both the side, 50-50%. Yeah, so
Yes.
many lessons to learn from this story. And
Yeah.
another one is, don't give up, no matter how many problems do you faced.
Exactly. I mean, even the job search alone, people have this perception, this misperception is wrong, but they think that they can get a job within a couple of weeks, like a month or two. You really need to give yourself a 6-month calendar realistically,
Yes.
because it can take up to 6 months to get that job. And also, if you're going into a new field, you might want to um, take a job that maybe in your new industry that might be a little lower pay, just to get your foot in the door, because then you can learn more about your skill, your trade, and then in a year you can start looking for something better, but you got to start somewhere and you got to get your foot in the door so that you can learn on the job while you're there. Yeah.
Yes, true. Okay, Coralyn, I think you have shared a lot of, it is like podcast list, but mini masterclass more. I believe it.
Yeah, exactly. I hope I didn't talk too much, but I was trying to give as much information as I could.
No, no, you just give your best, and believe me, it is going to help a lot of people over there, because right now where the people are, shutting the companies, or just throwing the employees out of the company. It's very important to share
Yes.
this information with them. So I believe you have given your best, and it is going to help a lot of people, over there. So that's all from my side. Do you want to add anything from your side?
No, the only thing I can say is don't be hard on yourself,
Yes.
and like make sure you give yourself a break in between your job search, so that you just go spend a day coffee, meet with friends or something like that, and just never give up. It's I've had people find work right at the end, just right close to 6 month mark, and it's just as exciting. So as long as you don't give up, and I want to thank you for what you do. I think your voice is just amazing, and the work that you're
Mhm.
doing to share valuable information, so keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your precious time. And it's my pleasure to have you over here. Thank you so much.
Anytime. All right. Thank you.